Hello and welcome back to the Ospreys Eyrie podcast, the podcast which uh, is only 3,015 people off the attendance of the Ospreys Zebra game. As you can see this week, or if you can hear, just the two of us, no Darren this week. I'd hope to be back up to a uh, full attendance, but unfortunately not. So just myself and Yestin. Yestin, how are we this week?
Yeah, good. Thanks. The Ospreys spent a bit of time top of the league, so yeah, it was a good weekend until the Stormers decided to ruin things.
Well, depending on your nationality, the South Africans ruined many people's weekends. Um, but yeah, as we alluded to, many Ospreys fans got some nosebleeds over the weekend as we soared to the top of the table. Last was not meant to be. We're back to ninth now, something like
Yeah,
that.
still in front of Leinster, I think, but back down
The
the
in
bottom.
heights of ninth. No, really, really good to be back at where we belong. Let's not kid ourselves here. It's back where we belong. So, we're talking points from the weekend, obviously. Sprays got the win in Zebra. For those who don't remember, Ospreys 34, Zebra 31. Uh, Entertaining game, I think. I think we said this on the wrap that it was a really, really entertaining game. Um, and fair play to it. Ospreys thought, why not give everyone a bonus point this season? If we could score them, why can't everyone else? What do you think? Good game for the neutral?
Yeah, it was, and the bit of me is a little bit disappointed about the lack of forward pack as we've seen over the last couple of years. But it seems like they've now joined in on or we might concede four, but we could easily score five. So it's nice to see backs involved in tries instead of just Justin Tipperick and maybe the odd forward picking a try up here and there. So yeah, it was nice. It was a brilliant game. I thought the Italian back three was superb, especially Lorenzo Pani. First time I've seen him in the flesh, and I thought he was brilliant.
Mm.
But the Ospreys also had some good performers. Max Nagy set up the first try, and he did an incredible job of just setting that one up. Matt Prothero's too busy waving at opposition fly halves before getting a HA concussion. So hopefully he's okay. And then yeah, the second half, Max Nagy scored a try after setting up the first, and then Nicky Smith, who returned from World Cup duty, wrapped up the bonus point, and a glorious sight of seeing him and Rhys Henry scrummaging in the front row.
You know what? Being at the game, it didn't feel like the forwards were dominant at all. I think you might have noticed this as well, but all the stats say that Ospreys were dominant forward wise, and you said it was scrum five. It just didn't feel like it. I felt like and full credit to Zebra on this. They were really physical. Um, the front five, carried well. Um, as did their back row as well. Obviously, Osprey, Guido Volpe, thought had a half decent game. Maybe not his best one. But yeah, they were really physical. I think we did front up well in that tackle area, better than we probably did against Connacht. Still, some soft, um, tackling for that first try. I think Ruben and Luke Morgan won't want to watch that back in the defensive session. Um, looking at the stats, 88% scrum win percentage, um, 93% line out, which is probably the offspring of their all-time line out percentage win, but we still can't take kickoffs properly. Yeah, I go through the stats on Ospreys, top everything. It just didn't feel like that. I know we controlled probably the last 20 the first half and the first 20 the second half quite well. Our discipline was really good. We only conceded 5 penalties all match, which for us is very good. Um, maybe put the ball in the air a bit more this game. Um, but is it Priscatelli, the Zebra fan?
Yeah, yeah,
He has a monster of a left boot, and he was very, very good in his kicking. um, In his kicking. Let's talk about that first try though. Where's that been for the last 3 seasons? Is probably where has it been? Is it a Max Nagy thing wanting to attack a bit more, or do we think that it's a Ospreys? I've said this season, yeah, let's go out, score some tries.
Well, I think some elements of the attack reminded me of the first season of Toby Booth, where there was encouraging performances of attack, and then they kind of went to the set piece because they realized that they had a really good scrum, and then obviously that was what the second season was. It was set piece and hold out in defence and have a rather strong kicking game, and then obviously they've tried to experiment a bit last season, and then I think this season it's kind of gone. We know we've got a pack, and there's solid foundations in the set piece, and they probably have slowly fixed on the attacking game, and that first try begins from Nagy saving a kick going out to touch, which I think would have been a 50-22.
Yeah,
So if if that goes out of play, it's a brilliant opportunity for Zebra to get more points on the board. And all of a sudden Nagy keeps it in. Well, we've seen lots of attempts of that over the last few years of players all over the world trying to keep possession from 50-22. And then they're thinking, right, I think the Ospreys of old really just had a rush clearance kick, and they would have probably lost the kicking battle, and then maybe given away a silly penalty somewhere, which was to let the opposition back in. But instead, Nagy keeps the ball in and fancied a little gallop. And luckily, there was a man with a blue hat on his outside. And that wasn't the few in the crowd. It was just Justin Tipperick. And that was it. There was quite a few. There's a lot of support on the inside. And I think it's probably down to the good work that Richard Fussell has slowly been implementing over the last 2 years.
yeah. I think Fussel's been attacked a lot. Well, for how the Ospreys have been skill wise over the last couple of seasons, and I'm not saying it's not without merit. He definitely hasn't got the attack going a lot. Um, the two that people are pulling out the sort of how this attack is working, and one I've noticed a lot is obviously we're playing a lot off Jack Walsh. Um, a lot off him on Saturday, and he's great going forward. And then we're also playing a lot of Max Nagy coming into the line. That's clearly something that both Boothie and Fussell have identified, that if we get Max at first receiver, big guys who's a carrying option, but also as a distributor as well. What are your thoughts on Nagy Walsh at the minute? Are they the ones maybe to take us forward in the starting jerseys, or are they a bit too inconsistent for you? How do you feel about them?
I feel like Max Nagy's definitely evened out the inconsistencies that he once had. I think when he had that injury against Ulster a couple of seasons ago, it was quite a nasty injury. We set him back quite a bit. Then he came back against Cardiff and then got injured again. So that was a bit of a rough patch. And then he started a few games last season. And I think with just the lack of experience that he and Walsh had, of course, Walsh was coming in to start quite a couple of games at the start of last season. It just felt like it just wasn't really clicking. But obviously now they've gained a lot more experience. You know, Jack Walsh has been working with Gareth Anscombe, Stephen Myler, who obviously now not out of the club, and now they're working with Owen Williams. But there was a try last season away at Rodney Parade where Nagy was coming in as the first receiver, and they popped it at the back, and Walsh is coming round and as the second man and makes the break and puts George North into the corner. So you
Yeah,
could see the blueprint is there, that they like to use the fullback in maybe it's first receiver with the 10 on the outside. And we saw that quite a bit, obviously, with Nagy coming in acting as the 10. So I think they've just got more game time, more experience with each other as players, and they're definitely growing in attack because I think it's slowly starting to click.
Yeah, I agree. And having watched Jack's press conference this week, he alluded to that Ospreys were maybe playing a too kick heavy game last season, and it probably didn't suit him. Sort of, this season where we're kicking probably about 15 kicks less a game, but we're passing a lot more. We talk about Zebre wanting to spread the ball a lot, and they do. They only pass 94 times compared to our 157. So you can see that we're looking to probably play a lot more off 10. And I still maintain that going forward, Walsh is the better player to take us forward, and then you bring Owen on to stable that ship. To bring, I do think that Owen did come on. He was okay. Probably didn't have his best day off the boot. We did look fundamentally worse in attack at 10. And Jack started to 15 at that point, which is a very different position for him. Let's just go some key talking points of the game. A few injuries. Nice to see Gary Phillips, who got absolutely sparked in a ruck, which I'm surprised. Accidental or karma, depending on who you ask. I thought Matt Prothero was good. Really well taken try, some great vision. Maybe a bit of a help from Hugh Sutton, but you can only play who's in front of you. Um, Hugh Sutton then goes off, um, as well as Dom Morris, forcing Ruben Morgan Williams onto the wing. I was lucky enough to be in the press conference with John Plumtree and Toby Booth yesterday. I asked a question about injuries. So Morris and Sutton received scans this week. We don't know the extent of their injuries. I saw Sutton leaving the stadium. He was walking relatively pain-free. Don Morris looks to be an ankle-related injury, I believe. So time will tell on that. Um, I think I'm confident that Matt Prothero and Garin might be available. Um, we'll see. Obviously, they're under regs. I think they're available. They can play. But it just all depends on how we feel, especially with our lack of depth at loose head right now. Although, am I right in saying Gareth Thomas isn't in the Wales squad?
Yeah, it's Domikowski and Nicky Smith, so
Okay,
could
so
could have
we
an
could
info.
we could see Garin and Gareth at the Stoop on Friday. I haven't missed any other injuries, have I?
I don't think so.
No.
As Giles picked up a knock against Connacht, but I'm not too
I think
sure.
I think Giles is looking to be back. Reading the forums, I think Giles will be available. I'll be interested to see if he isn't who they bring in, because obviously it forces Kieran Williams back into the lineup with Owen Watkin. So maybe that brings in a Toby Fricker. Harry Houston is a potential as well. I think we're more likely to see Fricker. Um, I'd like to see a back three of Nagy and Giles. If Prothero doesn't pass his HIA, but we'll definitely see. Uh, any other big talking points from that game? Do we want to talk about the referee, Ian Kenny?
He was letting a lot of things go, I thought.
He was very hesitant to blow his whistle, I thought.
He didn't fancy making a tune of his whistle, I thought, at times. There was a couple of decisions in the first half which could have gone uh, well to the way. Well, I thought Luke Morgan was rather unlucky not to get a try, and he's
Yeah,
he's the only
the knock on to Ethan Lewis's boot.
the only back three player not to score gets a perfectly good try. chalked off. So that stat will remain for another week, unless Alex Cuthbert comes back into the fold. It will just be that.
There is rumours that Spurs is facing not a lengthy spell, but a decent spell. But he's had a really fresh setback. Um, but that is to see. So that was Ospreys v Zebre. Um, Justin Tipper got player of the match, deservedly so. He was excellent. Really, really, really. I think I'm starting to warm to that back row a bit of Ratty and Morgan Morris. Maybe I'd like a bit more pace, because they're not the quickest back row. Um, but that's certainly one obviously will be shifted on Friday, and we'll talk a bit more about that later. So let's move on to the big news this week from an Ospreys point of view is that Justin Tipuric has been confirmed to be playing for the Barbarians against Wales in Cardiff on Saturday. What are your thoughts on this? Just before I get your thoughts, actually, um, in his statement, uh, after discussing it with Toby and the team, I'm incredibly grateful that the Ospreys are supportive of my decisions and have allowed me to play for the Barbarians. It's a shame the game falls in the same weekend as the Ospreys' first game in London. It's Sharks, which is important to the club and game I was looking forward to. Toby Booth is quoted as saying, I know it is very difficult for Justin and us, but we want to do what is right for our people. We try and put our people first, and I've attempted to do that ever since I've been here, get what the team needs as well as the individual. He approached me about it as a unique opportunity, and he's been brilliant, since doing that. Um, he's already, Booth goes on to say, and this was in the press conference yesterday, he's already texted me a number of times this week asking how training's going. He really does care deeply about the organisation. So what are your thoughts, Yestin, as a Justin Tipperick PhD student? How would you describe this situation?
I think if anyone that deserves a run out for the Barbarians is probably Justin Tipper, especially as now his international career's come to an end, and the fact that he's been given the opportunity to walk out for the Barbars for one final time against his own nation, is quite good. The back row that the Barbarians have selected is going to be quite interesting with him and Michael Hooper. So
Yeah, that's a tasty
uh,
bet. In another life, that row is winning the World Cup, I think.
that's like a back row that you see on Rugby Challenge 2 or 3 when you've just randomized the starting 15 with an unlimited budget, and you've managed to get them both in your starting 15. And with Rob Valentini at 8-2, so you're really showing off for that back row. And but I think the important discussion that we should be having here, okay, it's a blow for the Ospreys that Diperick isn't playing on the weekend, but it's not really his fault that he's been called up to the Barbars in some way, because this game could have easily been organised for another time in the season, and we shouldn't really be having a fixture clash.
Absolutely not. And we talked about this on the main pod that, obviously the news didn't come out then, but it Justin Tipperick's been put between a rock and a hard place. And I see a lot of, I think, unjustified hate towards Tipperick choosing the Barbarians. He's got a chance to run out with, he's played, 100 odd games with and Alan Wynne, against, some of his really good mates, in his final, probably one of his final appearances in a Wales capacity. You know, no, I think if you are an Ospreys fan, you cannot grudge him for that because of the servant dedicated he is to our club, and I don't think people realize how dedicated he actually is. Um, and I think actually people should see it as an opportunity for the likes of Harry Deaves and probably Morgan Morse to put a stamp down against, a good but probably a struggling Sharks team. So, and as you said, that game shouldn't even be happening. The Welsh Rugby Union are fully to blame in this. It's not something that players should be subjected to hate to. We've lost, what was it, 5 players to this game. Um, if anyone goes down with an injury, we could lose more. Derby on this weekend. As much as I like to, and I do like to rag on the Scarlets, and I do like to rag on Cardiff. So Welsh Derby that they won't have the what's for. Cardiff showed on the weekend that despite it being a horrible game, they do perform better with Thomas Williams in, with Mason Grady in, you know. So we shouldn't be subject to this. It's a really good opportunity on Friday, actually, I think, to beat Sharks. But we're being weakened and it's nowhere near our fault. It's really depressing to see across social media that, Saracens now have all their internationals back. Gloucester the same. Obviously Springboks aren't back unless you're Marvin Ory going to Perpignan. Every club has their internationals back, and we won't be seeing ours for 2 weeks. Because and they won't be playing obviously this game. Are we going to see them for Glasgow at home? Who knows? If Nicky doesn't start, maybe we'll get Nicky back. Um, But it's a farce that we won't see our internationals until November. Do we want to briefly talk about the Wales Barbarians game and just, or do you want to leave it at that?
I just want to say if you mentioned about the comments that Tipperick has been faced all week. If Justin Tipperick said that Saturday was going to be his last game of pro rugby, then he was going to call it a day right there. Then you'd have maybe a small case of saying, "Oh, he should be." That's quite harsh on the Ospreys, but he's gone out before. He represented Wales in the Commonwealth Games in 2018. It wasn't just him. Corey Allen was there as well, which is a weird fact that I know, but that actually happened. Um, and yeah, it's just hopefully nobody gets injured from this. It would be bitterly disappointed if someone was to go down from any of the other 4 clubs. Being truthfully speaking, um, and it's, the worrying thing is that the first game back that the internationals could have is at Rodney Parade. If they don't play the Glasgow game, of course, if they have a week off or something like that, you're getting thrown right back into a Welsh derby, and it's a
Yeah,
tricky position for coaches to be at the moment.
yeah, and look, obviously, good luck to all the boys playing against Barbarians. Look, just because I don't agree with the game doesn't mean I can't support, especially our boys in that game. Um, I really, really do hope we come out the other side. It'd be great to have Derry back, Jack. I think Adam Beard especially, is a big part of that Osprey second row. Um, and I'd like to see him, and finally like to see him and Reece Davis just air it up. Moving swiftly on, let's talk about. Let's take stock of what we've actually got. Um, I have got my team here somewhere. How do we feel about Friday as a whole going into it?
Um, Slightly nervous, if I'm being brutally honest, because it's very similar to what the Ospreys had a couple of seasons ago when they started the season off relatively well. They beat Cardiff and after beating the Dragons. And then there was a Friday night game at home against the Sharks. And the Sharks
Mhm.
were without their international contingent. I think it was either the Rugby Championship or something along the. It might have been the Rugby Championship that was on. And the Sharks turn up. Well, Border Chamberlain turns up and whacks 3 drop goals from nowhere.
That was a hateful game.
That was just a painful game of rugby. And the Sharks run away with a 14-point win. And you're thinking after such a good start, 2 wins from 2, and then you lose by 14 to a Sharks second side, you're thinking, oh, that's a bit of a worry. And after a relatively okay start of the season where we've picked up 6 points, we have a home game on a Friday night against the Sharks. And I really do hope, despite the storms and the weather forecast, that lightning doesn't strike twice. But um, but yeah, it's going to be tough regardless against the South African sides. We've seen what's happened with the Scarlets out there, and I think they probably travel relatively well, unlike the Welsh sides that go out to South Africa. So it's going to be tough. Of course, if we had some internationals playing, it would be beneficial. But if both sides had internationals out, it would be a brilliant contest. And
Yeah, I agree. I think they are two teams probably in a similar position right now. Looking at so look at the Sharks. They probably didn't get a lesson out in Leinster. They didn't really look at any point uh comfortable in that game. They lost Vincent Shuka pretty early. You know, they sit one. You know, they're 0 from 2 at the minute, so they're a bit of a wounded animal. Which scares me a bit. You know, where they're not getting any of their stars back. It'll be a really, really tough one, I think. Let's look at that Sharks lineup from last week. Yeah, they lose Vincent Schuka, Eyrie, time, and then this the squad is still so very good. You know, I'm looking at Werner Karp, who's an absolute menace. German Bosch is still very good. That whole backline actually, you know, Rohan Jansen van Rensburg, brilliant. Venter, Mark Fassi, on the bench then. White Chamberlain, we know all about, and the returning Fue Dianti. So threats all over the pitch. You know, Lazy as well. How can I forget about him? He's a great talent. So moving on to the what our squad predictions. What I will do is I will say the position. You tell me who you think is going to start, and I will do the same, and we'll compare our squads at the end. So let's start at loose head. Who do you think is starting at loose head for the Ospreys on Friday?
it all depends on Gary Phillips's HA, isn't it? We're on a bit of a sticky position, yeah, because we're not sure on Gareth Thomas's position if he's back or not. Um, it could easily be Reece Henry, and
Making captain.
well, we suggested him to go to Wales for Wales on this podcast, and now we're suggesting him to be captain. So I hopefully hopefully it'll be Gareth Thomas, but it could easily be Reece Henry. So for the pick one, I'm edging towards Reece Henry just in case because they probably bring back Gareth Thomas like Nicky Smith last week, probably on the bench.
Yeah, I've said that. I think it'll be Reece Henry. I don't think the way Garen Phillips looked on Saturday, he looked really out of it. Prothero didn't look too bad, and obviously did the media do that the highlights on the Osprey socials. So yeah, I think Henry and they'll bring Gareth on around 50, 60 minutes. Hooker,
Probably I've forgotten his name. Is it Ethan Lloyd?
Ethan Lewis.
Oh, Ethan Lewis rather. I've mixed the two hookers up, which is a good sign. Um, yet again, you know, there's still probably a couple of question marks about Sam Parry and his injury. There's been
Yeah,
a little bit of radio silence about that. So yeah, Ethan Lewis to start and Lewis on
I'm
the bench.
I'm leaning towards he puts Parry back in. I think Parry's had a week of training now. But that could equally be Ethan Lewis. I've been really impressed with Ethan Lewis actually. Tackles his socks off, has a great work rate, or carries the ball well. And then Lewis Lloyd coming on, I thought has been really excellent as well. again, just that youthful exuberance, and clearly enjoying it. Tight head, then I think we're both pretty set on who's going to start at tight head. Tommy Boata.
Yes, yes. It's straightforward now. He's probably one of the most experienced players in that pack.
He's got to be nearing 100 caps, surely.
Must I think no, didn't he get it away in Edinburgh last season? I think
Tommy
he
I have a
definitely
feeling
he definitely led the team out. I couldn't remember if it was 50 or 100. I think he's been here too long just to get 50 caps, and that's basically
yeah, he's 33, been in the 2018. According to All Rugby, he has played 78 games.
no, that can't be true.
I have a feeling he's a bit more in the 80s. Um,
No, he certainly had a milestone away at Edinburgh last season because I remember he trotted out first before
yeah.
the captain was probably Webb. So I
Oh
wonder
no,
if
yeah, he's definitely played. Yeah,
he must be on 100.
100 games. You are right. I thought he yeah. Yeah. Lot. Who do we say number four?
Reece Davis, which is the probably the obvious choice now. I think he started off this season quite well actually.
Yeah, he has, and it seems to be he's in a bit more of a leadership position as well. Um, yeah, so Reece Davis, that's who I'm going for as well. And five, who are we saying?
I really like the look of James Fender on the weekend actually coming off the bench. So I'm probably swaying towards him. Obviously, we don't know much about who's Hutton's injury, so it's another opportunity for youth, I think. And
Yeah, I think most likely it'll be Fender. Um, I do think Hugh Sutton might be but we'll definitely see. Actually, I've changed my answer, and I'm going to put James Ratty in for the second row, and you'll maybe see why in a minute. Moving into the back row, then, who are we putting at blindside flanker for the Sharks? Oh,
I'd probably keep the balance of the back row the same as what we've seen.
you're putting Ratty.
Yeah, Ratty at 6.
Further, how do you rate James Ratty in his return to the Ospreys so far?
Yeah, except for one slight miscommunication away in Galway. I think he's come back and he's been solid. He's a useful lineout option. Cardiff fans sent me a message on Twitter saying something along the lines of why are you playing Will Griffin second row and then Ratty at 6, even though they spent more time in the other position. But it
Yeah.
seems that he's working well there. I think it's probably given a bit of time to get things going. Obviously, he got a bit of a knock against Cardiff, so he didn't get as much game time in pre-season. But yeah, he seems like a solid player that's come back and it's clearly improved.
I agree. Yeah, he's big work rate, big, likes to carry, um, been decent enough in defence. You know, I've gone with Harry Deeves at 6, and you'll see why in a minute. I do think he moves Ratty into the row. 7, who have you gone for? I assume you've gone for the man in the yellow cap.
Yeah, the blue caps pink and yellow this week. So Harry Deeves is in the open side.
Big chance for him to make a statement.
Yeah, there's he didn't come off the bench last week. I don't think. I think
No,
Rick played the full 80, didn't he? So yeah, it's a chance for him. He went well against Connacht, and it's a real good platform for him to really develop on his game and have a good showing against a really good side. They're obviously going to come with a big pack, so
yeah,
it's a good chance for Deeves.
yeah, absolutely. I have gone with Morgan Morris at 7.
Ooh,
He is technically a 7 by trade.
Leinster away
Um,
running back.
Yeah, Leinster run it back, bring Josh Thomas. Um, yeah, just bring him home. Um, no, I think he might again, really not the quickest in terms of a seven. It's where you can do this such a good thing of off the scrum, you just swap Daves and Morris around to where the 10 is. That leaves number 8, so I assume you'll go in Mr. Morris.
Yes, yes, Morris at 8.
There's not much more to say about Morgan Morris, really, is there? Because he's just been so good, just so good throughout the last two games. Tries, sorry, not tries, carrying. He hits that on the lead up to, is it the Nagy try or the Nicky
The
try?
the Nicky
He,
Smith try, he hits a
he
hard
runs a lovely
line.
angle. I thought it was the wrong decision at first because I thought he was going to get bundled in his touch, but he just hits a lovely line, and it's a bit. He's quite Dwayne Vermeulen-esque in that sense. He hits that line really well, doesn't take a backward step, and it's great over the ball. So I think we could see him at 8. But I think it's time for Morgan Morse. In the uh, presser, it is hinted at that Morse is going to be involved, and I think it's a really big chance for him. And I think is he right for that start? Let's just do it. You know, all this talk about getting kids involved and getting them game time. Well, why not do it? Yeah. I think people forget that Morgan Morse is can still qualify for Wales under-18s and regional age grade rugby. He'd be still playing for Gatwick College or TTC. He's a freak. Is he a Vira boy? Yes, or
Uh,
where's he
he
from?
he is. Oh, I don't know exactly where he's from. It's escaped me, but he's actually doing a bit of coaching for Slovera now, which is ridiculous.
Which is scary.
And imagine rocking up to a Slovera school and seeing Morgan Morse as an assistant coach. That would just scare the life out of any kid. But yeah, he actually played his trade well at minis and juniors with Kuntur. So if you want to
Come to obviously, yeah. So
say he's from there, you
we'll
can't.
say come to she shouted out from my friends at come to if because I've forgotten that now. But yeah, that's a club with a lot of pedigree. Very proud of him, obviously with Jack as well. Rob Jones, one of his boys has been down himself before. I think it's time to pull the trigger. He was really good when he came out against Cardiff. He absolutely melted someone, and then goes and jumps on a really good opportunistic try. So I think with the way Ospreys have been attacking this season, he can have a real chance of carrying that ball. We've seen what he's done at under 20s level. He's had 8,000 Wales Online articles written about him. Mark Orders he's the new Reece Webb. Mark Orders will be, apoplectic if I don't think if he reaches his potential because he'll have no one else to write about. Um, yeah, so I think Morgan Morse has definitely got the potential to start. I'm probably being a bit more idealistic than you. I think you're being a bit more realistic in your selections. Um, so let's move in to the pre-boy stuff. 9, oh, I think we're both in collaboration here. Ruben,
Yeah, yeah, he's had a good start to the season, isn't he?
I think he has as well. I think you can clearly see that the offering is being quicker. The ruck speed I think is a lot quicker. I'd have to look at the stats. I'm sure certain people on Twitter will correct us in the stats wise, but yeah, definitely. Ruben's been waiting for this opportunity for years, and I know he had interest from other clubs when before he signed his contract. I'm really glad that he stayed, because I think he's a really good marker for him. And Luke Davis has much. It's enough for me to say, yeah, let's give Luke Davis a start in a game like this. 10. Who are we saying at 10? Potentially in the rain at the Twickenham Stoop.
Weather factors. I forgot about that. Oof.
Yeah,
Yeah, that could easily sway, but I'm going to stick with Jack Welch.
you're sticking with Walsh.
I'm all for this free flowing running rugby. I'm addicted to it after last week.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Walsh, but I could easily see it being Owen.
Oh,
I can very much see a Leicester away, if I'm honest. Um, I'm all for both sticking with Walsh. And I would like to preface this with both of us are big fans of Booth Ball. We love forward dominated brilliance, set piece excellence, but there comes a time when the backs do have to get involved a bit. So I think Walsh, you know, compared to I see a lot of people saying he's still not consistent enough. I'm pretty sure he's got a better kick percentage than Owen this season. Um, and also last year, he is so much better than he was. He's grown a lot, and you can see it. And all power to him. I think he's a great lad. He really enjoys his rugby. Wingers. So on the left, who are we going for?
it's where things get tough, mainly due to injuries and what have you. So you could be totally wrong at this spot at this point.
Yeah, I think this is the toughest part of the team.
Yeah, it's trying to jiggle it. Who's playing, who's not. Um, does he throw Fricker in there if Giles and Prothero are not fit? Or is Giles fit? We don't know. So uh, oof. I think it would be good to see Toby Fricker have a start. Yeah, again, he could easily be injured. No one's told us anything. Um, so I'd probably just about stick with Giles if he's fit. And
So you going Giles? It doesn't really matter what side there. I think Giles does play 11 anyway, doesn't he?
yeah, yeah,
I'm going to go Giles as well. I think it was more of a let's just give him a rest for a week, not aggravate an injury. He did look fine when I saw him at the club shop. So yeah, I'm going to go Giles. Let's go. Let's just do the other wingers quickly. Right winger, does he stick with Morgan or does Fricker come in?
yeah. I think he does stick with Luke Morgan. Okay, there's been a couple of defensive errors, even though the last Zebre try was probably down to Jack Walsh more than Luke Morgan, but I think he probably just wants continuity. So I think it'll probably be Morgan.
I'm going to be optimistic. It will be Morgan, but I'm going to go with Fricker. Actually, I'm going to go with Prothero. I
Ooh.
think I think he's more confident Prothero being fit, and I can see Fricker coming onto the bench wearing the 23 because of the centre partnership. I think that he's going to be forced to choose. So moving on to the centres then, inside centre, one man really is going to get that what an inside centre, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be, I think.
Keith. Yeah, I think you'll see Keith back at the centre. I thought Don Morris went well on the weekend. Actually, I actually thought he looked better on the wing than he did at centre. I thought Owen had a good game. And they complemented each other well. But then when Don moved onto the wing, he came onto the ball really well. Um, he's a big lad. You see him up close, he's got short centre of gravity, but big ass, big thighs. Runs his weight. Yeah, I think if he was fit, he'd definitely be starting. But he looked in a bit of pain. And going off. That leaves then outside centre is what are you going with outside centre?
Yeah, probably got to be Owen Watkins, isn't it? Even though he switched positions on most weeks from 12 to
Yeah, bless him.
I, it's it was probably his downfall last season as to why as Pivac thought it was funny to chuck him at 12 against Georgia and keep him on for 80 minutes, even though he should have gone off after 50 when he went down injured. But yeah, it's going to be another stint at 13. Okay, he probably had more time there actually thinking about that, as obviously the reshuffle of the back line probably forced him to 13, and Kieran Williams came on at 12 last week. So yeah, it's another start for him in the 13 shirt.
I think Owen goes in, a veteran in that side now. I remember him bursting onto the scene. He was great when he did. Really, really good centre, and for fans of Squidge rugby, he features heavily in Squidge's first ever video.
Yeah, that was yeah, 10 starts for Owen Watkin, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was very good. 'Cause he came in obviously as Bish was on his way out, and maybe we were probably lacking a bit of centre. Probably after Matavesi, yeah, we were maybe in there a bit. I think it was that Fonatia era.
We signed James Hook. That happened again.
Yeah, but
When
he bless him, they didn't know what position to play it.
Yeah, and then well, Fonatia did actually play. Yeah, I think he was more used as a 13 Fonatia because
Yeah,
the time Watkin was in at 12 and he was always having a good impact. So yeah.
let's move to fullback then. Is he fit? Is Maxwell Nagy fit?
I hope he is.
I bloody hope so as well, because otherwise I think we're looking at Walshy at fullback and then Owen 10.
Well, if Prothero is fit, we'll just stick him at 15, see what happens.
Oh, it's vibes. So are you going with Nagy at fullback?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I agree. Um, really great start to the season. Um, all right, he's lapsed a bit with a bit of concentration with kicks and whatnot, but I think he's showing that form he showed early on in his Ospreys career. Um, so I really hope he controls the ball, controls the game well again. 15. I think this run of games will really help him. And I don't want him to keep performing because I'm getting shades of Underhill, where we have this great English player who performs week in, week out for us, and all of a sudden an England coach comes calling, he has to move to the Prem.
Oh, Northampton are definitely going to sign him after his contract is neat. That's the prediction sorted.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
the
it's written in
it's
the
so
stars
funny.
now.
It
Oh,
is,
you,
isn't
you've
it?
said it, James. You've said it.
Here we go. Let's move on to the bench then. Um, Replacement hooker. Well, who are you going with?
Hopefully, Sam Parry.
You're
If
going with Spud.
if we assume he's back, then I think he'll go
Yeah,
on the bench.
I will go with Ethan Lewis. I think, as much as I'd like to see Lewis Lloyd, I think you just need like an Ethan Lewis to come in and just be solid coming on. Sam Perry, who, Perry and the team's a bit of a better scrummaging hooker. So we'll definitely see. Loose head.
I had Henry to start, so Gareth
So
Thomas on the bench.
I think it will be the general. 18 replacement tight head. Are we in?
Ben Warren, isn't it?
And Warren, yeah.
Henry starting at loose head, he can't come off the bench at tight end.
Maybe we'll look at like a Cam Jones as well. Might get in around loose head maybe. Um, if if Gareth isn't involved in the Wales squad, I can see him definitely being. He was at the game on Saturday, so yeah. Warren, who who are we going with in the second row?
Ooh,
This is where it gets tough
yeah,
because
running low on
we're
options now.
quite thin on the ground if Sutton is not fit, which we think he's not going to be.
It'll have to be Lewis Jones.
That
If
was my. Is it going to be? Are we going to see the debut of Derwin's son?
I think it might have to be because but we've lost Will Griff, who went down injured. Well, Ratty's at 6 for me, and you've got him in the row. And
Hmm.
Sutton's injured. I've got Fender in my side. So you could probably have James Fender on the bench, couldn't
Yeah,
you?
so I've got Fender on the bench.
So yeah, so I'm thinking Lewis Jones now because mainly
So I think forgotten man Jack Regan comes in.
as a shout, yeah,
The man that time forgot, Jack Regan. I don't think he's injured. He is in
former,
Swansea,
formerly the Highlanders.
formerly of the Highlanders. So are you saying Jack Regan then?
Oh, I'm gonna stick with Lewis Jones.
You're going to go with Berwinson,
Yeah,
and then I will go with Fender. I could easily see Regan in there. I actually think Regan would look really big in the Ospreys jersey. This is where it gets tough for me in back row. I assume you're going with the big man.
yes, I'm going Morgan Moss mainly because I think it's just he just all through his when he's playing as a kid and he just runs around everywhere and he probably doesn't stop. And I think if you chuck him on about 20 minutes ago on his competitive Ospreys debut, I don't think he will. I think he'll probably stop by the time the Scarlets come to town at the end of November. And
Yeah,
and yeah, it's frightening that the energy levels he has. He just runs around everywhere. It's ridiculous at times, and I think hopefully, he'll be on the bench, and hopefully, he gets good 20-25 minutes.
yeah, I think he's definitely going to be on the bench. Other options that they could be brought in if he got over his injury woes. Tristan Davis has featured quite a bit before. I think he brings in Jack Regan. It's a lot flash sit. I don't think you can go wrong. Not really. Okay, so scrum off. I think we're both in agreement here, aren't we?
Luke Davis, he's a bit, he's quite quick off the base
Bit
actually.
of a live wire, isn't he?
Uh,
Um, yeah, and then I assume we're both in agreement with our replacement 22.
I think,
O's.
yeah, it should be Owen Williams.
And then who does he bring in?
Be one of many. This is
So are you going with, so obviously you've gone with Morgan and Giles, so is that where Prothero, if he's fit, or do you go with like Toby Fricker? Are you flirting with Harry Houston coming in?
well,
Luke Scully?
Houston did score for the Whites last week, but I think if I'm just going to assume Prothero might not be fit, so I'm going to chuck Fricker on the bench.
You're going to go with Fricker, who is, I am also going to go with as well. I'm very tempted to pick Houston though, because I like the look of Harry Houston a lot. So that is our squad. So I'll run through Yeston's predicted squad for the Sharks at the Twickenham Stoop. Loosehead, Reese Henry, Hooker, Ethan Lewis, Tighted, Lombota. In the row, you've got uh, Reese Davis and James Fender. Ratty, Deeves, and Morris make up the back row. Continuing their partnership, Ruben and Jack, 10. Three of Giles, Morgan, and Nagy, with Keith and Owen Watkin in the centres. On the bench, Larry Thomas Warren make up the front row, Will Jones, Derwinson, and the Boiler Room. Morgan Morse for his professional debut as well in the back row with Williams and Britain. I have gone for Reese Henry, starting at loose head. I'm just going to say captain. Um, my fault. Sam Parry, Tom Bota, Davis and Ratty make up the boiler room with Peeves and Morris and Morse first start. Again, Ruben. I think we've gone for the exact same back line, except I think Prothero is going to be fit on the bench. Then Tom to come back in. Warren, Fender, Regan, Williams, and Fricker. I think that's
Yeah,
probably more idealistic squad, purely on vibes.
yeah, that's adventurous. That is.
That is a vibes based squad.
I've gone very very simple, just keeping it basically the same.
So now that we've gone with um, uh, predicted squads, let's get on our predicted scores. This could be messy.
This could be one of this could be some this could be quite a
Have
bit.
you have you heard my rap prediction on the weekend?
No, I did not.
Yeah, so I will do mine first since I went for the Sharks by 19. Um, I think that their 0 from 2 are a wounded beast. I think it could get messy for us. Saying that, doing this one, I'm not saying Lee and Jamie are bringing me down. Look, you can put this on YouTube. Lee and Jamie are being too negative. I think it's going to be Ospreys by 6. I think let's do it. Ospreys by 6. It's going to be Jack Walsh masterclass. But
Oh,
I think it's going to be a really good game of sort of line breaks and free flowing rugby offloads everywhere. I want to see a Reece Henry line break again. So yeah, Ospreys by 6. Yes, then you're going to be a bit more pragmatic.
yeah, I think I'll have to be the realistic one. Yeah, you shoot me if you want. If I'm being too negative, who cares? I try my best to remain upbeat whenever I write any sort of rugby work. So it's about time I've vocalized my negative sides of myself. So I think it's going to be quite similar to what we saw a couple of years ago. I think the Sharks, they're 0 from 2. And I still think they're a good side, regardless of lack of internationals and their poor start of the season. Look, they've played away in Leinster, for crying out loud. Who wins there unless you got a team with Dan Bigger at fly half and you're playing between 2010 and
I'll have
2012.
you know that Lloyd Ashley has won at Leinster, as has Josh Thomas.
And Ollie Cracknell. Yeah, there's another.
Oh,
We could
oh,
actually name 23 if you wanted to, but
new feat. I'm implementing a new feature where we focus on each players that really minute or really niche players, and we're going to start with next week, and I will discuss this with you. But we're having an on-air admin meeting. I'm telling you now, we're having a niche Ospreys players discussion next week.
you could even build a starting 15 or multiple starting 15s.
I am gonna
This could be groundbreaking.
uh, I'm gonna hound Robbie Squidge this week to get on at some point so we can have build this 15 of niche Ospreys players.
But we know who's going to be captain because it's obviously Tom Haberfield. But the rest of the
Yeah,
side,
the mole.
it's up
But
for
the,
debate.
the, the reason I say this is because Ben Cambriani signed for Zebra weirdly at the start of preseason. So he's out for the season. But that's a niche Ospreys player who faded into the English Championship and is now at a URC club. So I fully expect Morgan Strong to be at like Gloucester in 3 years or something like that. Yeah. So you've gone Sharks by how many?
14 is actually probably going to be near the same scoreline as we saw a couple of years ago.
The Sharks by 14. Very different predictions. Um, yeah, I think either way, though, I hope it's just a good game of rugby.
And I do. I think if we can have a similar style to last week, maybe a little bit better kicking game. I know I'm really being desperate here and asking for a lot, but they could probably, if the best kick from the first half came from Justin Tipuric, which is a bit of a worry from the Ospreys' point of view, but
Portugal's best kick of the World Cup came from Mike Tadger. I wouldn't be worried at all.
that is true. So if anyone on the front row wants to step up into that role, then feel free. But if they could probably shore up the kicking game a little bit, the
Yep,
weather conditions dependent. If it's pouring down with rain, then just box kick, living nightmare out of it. I'll be happy watching that. So yeah, probably if they could forward a bit of a kicking game and keep the balance of the attack and probably attack when they want to, like we've seen, maybe force a kick, and maybe when it's the right time to strike, they strike. So if it can be the same type of game as last week, then I'm not going to complain.
no, absolutely. And to finish, I'm gonna finish with the news that I broke to Yestin in the week. That Ospreys now have two former players that have won the World Cup that I can think of. No, it's not your Justin Marshalls or your Jerry Collins or your Marty Hollers. It's Ricky January, who made two appearances for the Ospreys. Marvin Orey, my hero and yours, who was an emergency loan signing back in the Clark era. So full congratulations to former Ospreys legends, Ricky January and Marvin Orey.
It's really staggering that a
Yeah,
member of the Alan Clark Ospreys side from the 2019-20 season has gone on to win the World Cup.
lost to the fucking Kings. Yeah, I just add. Which
That
I'm
was,
pretty sure Marvin Orey played that game.
I think that was his debut, and he started.
Yeah. So if anything, we've set him up for success.
Yeah, we've given him a rough start, so he could really flourish. I feel, and look at him now. He's gonna stop World Cup celebrations to play for Perpignan, who haven't won a game in the top 14 this season.
Great league that is better than top 14. I
Oh,
know there's a lot of talk at the minute about different leagues and what is the best, but I think top 14 is certainly
oh,
just the best
without
league.
without a shadow of a doubt. Even though La Rochelle ruined my Super Brew predictions this week, and so did the Bulls, by the way. But the top 14 for me, hands down, the best league.
It's somehow got the worst skill levels for the whole rugby calendar, the whole rugby fraternity. I'm vastly fallen out of love with the Premiership. Um, maybe not the URC's biggest lover, but it did some great games. Ulster Bulls was fantastic. It was a fantastic game. Leinster versus Sharks was a decent game. The Dragons v Cardiff was hateful. I'm going to go on a bit of a rant right now, and I'm so gutted Harley wasn't on the pod. How are Cardiff winning or getting into positions to win? Their backs are playing. They've got no set piece. They had a 75% line out winner on the weekend and a stupidly low scrum percentage, right? Because they've got that strawberry shortcake drop and that useless Azarati. Not useless, but clearly not strong at scrummaging front row. It's just baffling how they're getting into games. And full credit to Tiana Stabia, by the way. I think he's been great at he's probably what Scarlets have been crying, not Scarlets, Cardiff have been crying out for. He's quite he's like Stephen Myler, but 10 years younger, in that he's a bit of an old head, great range kicking options on him, that can go over to combat that line speed. I can't wait for him to single-handedly win Cardiff the game against us. Clearly that's what's going to happen, because that's what he did to Dragons.
Yeah, and you've mentioned the pack that you just said about Azerati and all that. Now you've set yourself up for failure because it's inevitable that they're going to turn up and turn into the 2019 Springboks bomb squad and cause chaos next time Ospreys play Cardiff.
Nicky Smith won't allow that. He is he just won't. No, I think it's I'm just very surprised that Cardiff with their prowess in their backs, and historically they score nice tries, and with Jockey, a head coach who apparently is a backs coach. Um, rumor has it he was backs coach at us. I don't think he actually was. Seriously, they should be playing a lot better than they are. Um, let's talk about Scarlets a minute. Is it fun to laugh at the Scarlets at the minute, or are we a bit rest?
Uh, you, you look at the scoreboards and you're thinking, ouch. But there's some players that's still on the books there. We're thinking, isn't it time for them to move on?
Yeah, I will mention this on the wrap that kind of Foxy is depressing. Um, and you've got Samson in your books. You've got Scott Williams playing Martin Quins against the Whites on the weekend. You know, I know he'd get back to fitness, but is that what's going to change the Scarlets? Is 400-year-old Scott Williams and a Foxy, or is an Eddie James and a Joe Roberts? Let's finish on something positive then. Um, Nick Adamson is refereeing Friday.
Oh God! Oh, I forgot about that. I had the email come through, and I thought, oh, here we go. Who is referencing us this week? And I scrolled down to see that Adamson is in charge, and I scrolled down a little bit further to see that Adam Jones is in charge of Cardiff against Scarlets.
Yeah,
So
that made me feel a bit
that's
better.
that's must watch now. And yeah, is it the third straight week? Oh no, we had the Italian referee at
No, we had the Italian referee doing his second ever game at Connacht, and obviously Ian Kenny on against us. So it's Mike Adamson, but at least it's a bloody tenured ref.
then again, Cardiff had Frank Murphy for the first 2 weeks of the season, so
Right. Not
yeah,
even Frank Murphy could have ruined the Dragon Cardiff game. That's how bad it was.
it seemed like he had an okay afternoon. I thought from what I could see, he didn't drop a clang out of nowhere.
No, he didn't. So we have Adamson on his 74th league game with Ellie Phillips and Mark Butcher, along with Matteo Liperini, who's an Irish Italian TMO. Let's see. So weirdly, Mike Adamson is pulling double duty this weekend because he is also the TMO for Dragons versus Munster at
Oh,
Musgrave Park.
that's
Um,
that sums it up for Dragon supporters. That does that.
yeah,
that is, oh, you go away to Munster after two games where you've probably performed below par, and
he
then
should have won.
you should have beaten Edinburgh, and then well, the Cardiff game was a bit hit and miss, but then you go away to Munster, who are league champions, away from home, Saturday afternoon without any internationals, and then you look in the TMO box to see Mike Adamson there. You may as well just cancel the flight because it's just going to be a long. It's just is going to be a long evening for them, and that's just the TMO.
Yeah, so I'm looking for our friend Andrea Piardi. Where is he? Where are you, Andrea?
Didn't I think he's probably on World Cup rest, isn't he?
He's on World Cup rest, but
Ah, no fun in this.
no fun. Um, I think that's a good way to end it, though, is whinging about which referee we're going to get this weekend. So that has been the Ospreys Eyrie for this week. Join us next week as we review the Ospreys debut at the London Twickenham Stoop, not the home of English rugby. That is opposite. Uh, Hopefully we'll be back up to a full contingent of myself, Yestin, and Darren. Some big things in the works. Guys, we get some, yeah, hopefully get some really nice interviews coming in. Um, like I said, we're going for our niche player uh chat next week. Yeah, so join us next week as we preview the Glasgow home game. For all things Ospreys, I've been James, joined by Houston, and everyone